What's up, everybody? So I wanted to make a video today about my own personal story into veganism. I've talked about a lot of different things on this channel, but I've never really given my own story, how I actually got to this point in my life eating this way. So story starts about 8, 10, 12 years old. I'm a little kid growing up in Florida. I moved to a new place, didn't have many friends. So what I did for about 3 or 4 years of living there is I sat around and ate pizza rolls, played video games, did that kind of stuff. And what that resulted in was a 12-year-old who I think at 12 I was about 140 pounds. I remember driving next to the Kmart with my mom saying, "Mom, I'm gaining 10 pounds a year, isn't this great?" And she goes, "No, Charlie, you're going to be 220 pounds by the time you're 22. You'll be 200 pounds by the time you're 20. And that's when it kind of all dawned on me that my eating habits, what I was doing, just sitting around playing video games, was making me fat. And I didn't like being fat. I was a little chubby kid and I didn't like it. So what I started to do is I started to read about nutrition. I started to exercise more. I started playing basketball a lot. And what this all, pretty much enacted in, or what this all resulted in, was me losing about 15, 20 pounds in like 2 weeks and really starting to make some really unhealthy eating decisions. I started counting calories. I started, really only eating like 1,000 calories a day, drinking diet soda all the time. Because to me, from the little bit I had read, this is really what I thought was the right thing to do. I thought, well, I've been drinking soda. Diet soda is the best option, I seem to be eating too much, so I'll eat less, blah, blah, blah. And what I think, I don't blame myself for, at least trying to do better, but I wish I had read more, because at that age, I really needed to be eating more. Like when you're cutting calories out of your diet at such a young age, there's a possibility of like not stunting your growth, but definitely not giving your body what it needs to grow. And it needs a lot of food and a lot of, calories to grow at that age. Because I was just hitting puberty, blah, blah, blah. I should have been eating more. So yeah, that's where it started. I started dieting. I started doing all these crazy diets. I tried doing the low carb thing. I did anything you can think of. At one point I was eating like unseasoned microwave chicken and rice and egg yolks. I tried that for a little while. I only got through 1 day of egg yolks. I thought it was just too bad. I couldn't handle it. So fast forward a little while, about from 12 years old to maybe 15, 16, I started reading more about nutrition and I started getting skinny. And by skinny, I don't mean skinny, I mean really skinny. I didn't look very healthy. I had really, really skinny arms. I have really skinny arms now, but it was much worse. I was always exercising, but I wasn't really giving my body what it needed. I wasn't feeding myself enough. I still had this mentality of dieting. I needed to take something out of my diet. Rather than taking the bad stuff out and just replacing it with good, I was just taking everything out. So about 15, 16, I started maybe thinking of becoming vegetarian. Actually, no, it probably wasn't until I was like 17 or 18 that I even started to play around with the idea of being vegetarian. And around, 18, my girlfriend at the time decided to go vegetarian. It had been playing around my mind for a while. I was like, okay, I like animals. I kind of know some of the health risks related to, a standard American diet. So hey, I'll give it a try. That turned into 6 months of vegetarianism, which turned into, up to this point, about 1.5 years of veganism. And from that initial, time of going vegetarian, I started to do more research. I started to look into diet and nutrition. I started to watch documentaries. And this gets me to basically the moving factor for me that really pushed me into vegetarianism and veganism. I don't know if vegetarianism is even a word. But yeah, it pushed me into going vegetarian was I watched a documentary. It was called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And if you haven't watched it, it's basically this guy who goes on a juice fast. And if you don't know what a juice fast is, it's just where you literally eat nothing, or I would guess you should say drink nothing but juices for a period of time. Some people do 10 days, some people do 30 days, yada yada. And I don't mean juice like, go to Walmart and buy some orange juice. I mean fresh pressed juice. Like you buy a juicer, you juice everything yourself and you drink that. And I watched this documentary, and what basically happens is the guy loses a ton of weight. He gets, he eliminates all these health issues, and the thing that it really got the ball moving in my mind. Things started to turn like, oh, maybe there's something to this vegetarian vegan thing. So I start watching more documentaries, Forks Over Knives, Food Incorporated, things like that, and basically all this information that I was bringing in just compiled in my head and made me think more and more about how veganism was really a good idea. Up until this point, I would call myself a hobbyist. I really get into things, whether it be metal detecting or currency or Forex, or if you don't know what Forex is, it's like the stock market. And I get into things and I really research them to like the nth degree. And what I've learned from researching things is never to take one side. Like if I was listening to all these vegan people and they said meat is bad, I learned to that point not to just say, oh, of course, meat is bad, blah, blah, blah. No, I learned to, listen to both sides. So, for so long, before, getting into, watching that Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, blah, 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 I had been, listening to meat eaters, basically. I don't know how to say it any better. And I had learned, the whole low-carb thing, all that stuff. So, as I'm getting more into veganism, as I'm reading, the documentaries, blah, 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 I start, hearing all this stuff about the veganism, and in my head, I still have all this information from the meat eaters, and they really started to clash. So it took a while for me really to pick a side, and really, in my own mind, make up who I really wanted to believe, and which side had more information in their favor. I ended up reading The Starch Solution, which is by John McDougall. That's a really good book if you want to read it. And it supports a vegan diet. And it wasn't just his book or just the movies or anything like that. It was kind of this long period of time where I just smushed all this information about veganism into my head and let that kind of simmer in there with what I had learned earlier in life. And what came out was basically this. I went vegan. It made sense to me. And a lot of people, they usually fit into two camps. Either you're the ethical vegan or you're the health vegan. And when my girlfriend went vegan, I kind of jumped on the bandwagon, but I wanted to do it for health reasons. And it was from all that stuff I had been learning. I'm kind of rambling here, and it's hard to put it all together because I've honestly been learning about nutrition I'm 20 now, so it's been about 8 years. I've compiled a lot of stuff in my mind about this. And basically, to sum it all up, I went vegetarian, with my girlfriend at the time, but it was just the conglomeration of all that information that really made me go vegan. So I would say that I'm not as much an ethical vegan, but at this point I kind of am. But I'm more of like I learned so much that I couldn't not do it. You reach a point in your life where you learn enough about how cows are treated, enough about what meat does to you, enough about what's actually in your food, that you don't really have a choice anymore. And I'm not saying that to people to freak them out, but really in my mind, I had all this information and I couldn't just ignore it. I couldn't keep eating steak or whatever and ignore all the stuff I knew about it. So it was kind of my own mind pushed me to go vegan. And yeah, that's where I am now. I've been vegan for about a year and a half, without meat for about 2 years now. And yeah, it's going great. I really enjoy it. If you've watched any of my other videos, my digestion got better. My taste buds changed. I lost a little bit of weight. I didn't have some like crazy eye-opening experience from this, but I've just basically my entire time being vegan and leading up to that, it's just been a huge learning experience. And I'm somebody who's really thirsty for knowledge, and as I said, I'm a hobbyist and I like to research things, and nutrition has been like a huge hobby of mine, and this whole vegan thing's been really great, not only from a physical perspective, but from a mental perspective. So yeah, that's my video. That's about it. That's all I have to say. If you like this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll try to make a video about your comment. Yeah, and this video in particular, I'd like to see questions from people, because getting to that point of going vegan is really big. It's a big turning point. It's like really hard to get there, and I'm really interested in helping people, get to that point in their lives, or give them information so that they can, think the same way not think the same way that I do, but just have all the tools to formulate their own opinions about what they eat. So yeah, like, subscribe, as I already said. Everybody have a good one. I appreciate you watching. Bye.